A week vacation here with no doctor appointments, nothing to do, bills to pay. I can't pay the bills, so I don't have the money.
My friend and his wife own that house, the third one up, that great big one. Yeah, the Keelers. No. Yeah, Dwayne and Phyllis Keeler. And they're restoring it.
All the shortcuts.
This is the new Super Walmart. It's going to open in 2010, the new Super Walmart.
Oh my goodness, it is some big building.
The traffic lights are completely out.
Oh my goodness, it goes way back.
Oh, it has to. And Lowe's is going to move in there.
Wow. Well, they got all the flat land.
And that's the end.
It is, but
That's as far down as it goes.
well, the traffic lights are not. Looks like they knocked down something there.
Why would a Lowe's want to move next to Walmart?
Make a shopping center.
I was thinking Home Depot. Yeah, that's not a bad combination. Lowe's and Home Depot's a bad combination. Greenport?
Yes.
No, Walmart. Price Chopper Fashion Book. Greenport, no.
Still not as crowded as the one back home. The one back home is like the mob scene.
You mean Walmart Fishkill?
Oh yeah, it's like the only one in Dutchess County.
Well, it's a great one. I love that store. This one's little.
It's a good parking spot. Semi-good.
Greg, I got a handicap thing to park a handicap spot.
Yeah, well, this person's pulling out.
Well, leave enough room to open the door wide enough for me, okay? Being as that I have to get in and out. Wow.
If you live a clean life, you'll always find a parking space.
Hey, the basket right there. Couldn't ask for it.
The wind blew away the snow. Just about. It's almost all gone. Just the part left that we shoveled. And that unearthed the grass for the kitties. Now, let's see. We can hold the camera with one hand. Yeah, that's the second one down. Let's see if we can help Sebastian, who depends upon grass as much as let me cut that piece for you. It's too big. Okay, I'm trying to hold the camera here. Cut the grass. Feed the kitties. Here's Sebastian. Here, try this one, honey. Don't go away discouraged. Here. Don't go away discouraged. That's a nice one. They measure it, you know, and they sniff it. That one didn't pass the test. They just have to have grass. Oh, did you see the moon last night? And you know there were stars too. I actually saw stars. What, first time in a year? By the way, this is the next to the last day of the year 2008. You see any other ones, folks? Slim pickings. The expression she gets in her eyes is very comical. What's that? You eating 6, honey? This is a... No. Well, I don't know. Mind, maybe you don't mind that it's yellow. Oh, that was a big piece. Let me cut this one. There, this is reasonably good for December. Yeah, hold it up here. There. Okay. Back to the sanctuary and make up God first. For our money, we finished the titles. Yeah, I think we only have something like 11 programs. Isn't that nice? That'll cost only $110 to put on a YouTube. In the summertime when grass is plentiful, she wouldn't even consider this one. Okay, Dottie Con, that's 6 or 7. I guess I didn't tell you that I stayed up all night on Sunday putting titles on a chat with Glendora. Program numbers 4,994, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, and the big 5,000 that Victoria Caressi had already done. And I went to sleep at 6:40 and woke up at 8:40. That was 2 hours sleep. Greg Washburn and his mother came, and I could have done better. I could have done more. I could have taught them how to go to Alone with God at 5 o'clock. We're at Pi, P-I, and we're having dinner, and we're waiting for a special cook, and we've got a fire. Isn't this nice? And over across the street, the people. We had a Wham dinner. Wham is vegetarian ham. And you know this beautiful little face is sitting right on the paper that I wanted to read to you. Wouldn't you know that? Now, see what happens when we try to get it out. And thank you. Just 2 more feet. .com. Just move 2 more feet and we'll have it. Okay, here it is, folks. The Library of Performing Arts, New York City, Cinema Series, Bob Hope, thanks for the memories. Tuesdays at 2 p.m., October 7th and November 4th. It's over, of course. I want to thank James Dixon, a very loyal and helpful watcher of A Chat with Glendora in Manhattan. And I thought this whole thing, admission is free. I thought this whole thing of having these Bob Hope movies and television shows was quite an accomplishment. The Cat and the Canary, Never Say Die, The Cat and the Canary Again, Monsieur Beaucaire, The Bob Hope Show, The Iron Petticoat, Bob Hope Show Again, and I wanted to get the story behind it, how this man arranged this. And I called the New York Public Library several times and eventually prevailed and found out that a man named Joseph Ransky was in charge of it all. And he said he would gladly tell you how it all came about. And we were going to do it this afternoon between 1 and 4. And I just called him, and it's very busy there. So he wants me to call him at his home tonight and do it. I'll play you that conversation. This is...
Thank you for calling the New York Public Library of the Performing Arts. If you'd like to ask a reference question online, please visit www.mipl.org/LPA. To listen to our menu, please follow the prompts. If you are calling during our regular open hours, Monday and Thursday, 12 noon to 8 p.m., Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m., or Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and would like to speak to our information desk, press 1.
Wait. Performing Arts Library.
Hi, can you find Mr. Ransky?
How are you spelling your last name?
Well, I think it's Y-R-A-N-S-K-I.
Oh, here we go. His number is 187.
Lincoln Center Library, can I help you?
Oh, good afternoon. This is Mr. Ransky.
Yes, it is.
It's Glendora. How are you today?
Pretty good.
Good. Did you want to give me that story as to how you brought that coup, which I think is a wonderful attainment?
Yes, but I should have... Okay.
No.
I should have a telephone number I can call you back at.
Yeah, that would...
The rest of the day looks really bad until I get home about 7:30 tonight.
Oh, that would be good if you give me an exact hour, and then it'll be better for me. Then that time I'll have to... I can be on camera talking to you, and it's better if I'm on camera.
Okay, then.
And it takes me a little while to set it up. So if you would tell me when you're going to call, I'll set things up half an hour before.
Okay, probably about 8 o'clock tonight would be really good for me.
Oh, that's good. Now, if you want to make it later, that's okay.
Oh, no, well, I can... what's ever good for you, I'm up till 2 a.m. every night.
I beat you. The night before, I was up until 5:30. Okay, what is your home number?
Okay, my home...
311.
Uh-huh.
And my number is 9 for you to call me, but you have it as a reference.
Yep.
And I'll call you at 8, and I'll get set up by 7:30.
No problem.
And it's
this week is crazy with everyone being off for holidays.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Oh, yes, well, you did a wonderful thing there. And I was at the post office about an hour ago, and they said they're coming out with a Bob Hope stamp.
That's right, and April just in time for Dolores' 100th birthday.
Dolores' 100th birthday?
Yep, her birthday hits between April and May. Last year I couldn't be there, but I got a call from her, from Catherine Crosby, and also from Melissa Gilbert. So, all at the party.
Isn't that great?
Well, what's great is the fact that Dolores usually has great days, and she is very upset when she has to use her walker when she has to stand for more than half an hour. Otherwise, she maneuvers by herself, and her younger sister at 95 is wheelchair bound and now living with her because she needs to live with someone else.
Isn't that marvelous? Folks, the Library Performing Arts, New York City, had a series of programs. Bob Hope movies, Bob Hope radio shows, Bob Hope television shows. And I got very interested in that. They had them in the month of October and November. So I called the library to find out who was responsible for this great achievement. And it turned out a gentleman named Joseph Vransky. So I called around and called, and I asked Mr. Vransky if he would come on this program to tell you how he brought about such an achievement. So I'm going to call him on the phone right now.
Hello?
Hi, Mr. Vransky there. Glendora's calling to have an interview on television.
Okay, let me just... Get more comfortable. Okay, that was a very good timing. Like I got in about 15 minutes ago.
You did. You later see that than you expected. All right. I'm ready to start. And I've already told the audience what you've done and that I thought it was a great achievement. And so I'd like to ask you, how did you get such a wonderful idea?
Well, basically, my library, which is part of the New York Public Library system, had done a move. We closed a building last year where the film collection had been for over 50 years, and we wanted to have something to announce to the public that we were at a new location and we were doing important programming. We had had two programs with Bing Crosby, and I'd had Catherine Crosby come to the library as well as showing home movies and other rarities. And during the course of dealing with Catherine over 2 series, I was introduced to the Bob Hope family, and they were very helpful in terms of making a lot of Bob Hope's material available. They have everything that Bob ever did, all in one location, very, very in wonderful condition, so that we could actually have things like Iron Petticoat, which really hasn't been seen since its initial release in 1957. It's not to say that necessarily that everything was superb, but it really showed the length and breadth of his career in this particular series. And for the last program, his daughter Linda did arrive, and she spoke to the audience, and she was, I think, rather tickled. In fact, the day before our program, she was over at Ellis Island with the government, and they were announcing the Bob Hope stamp that will be coming out this April or May. And what's unusual for a stamp to a celebrity like Bob Hope is the fact that usually it takes 10 years after your death before you can have a stamp made in your likeness. In the case of Bob Hope, because of all the work he did with the troops and all of the volunteers that he had done, it's only 5 years, so this is going to be very, very special. And it will be coming out at the time that his widow, Dolores Hope, will be turning 100 years old.
Dolores Reed, R-E-A-D-E, Hope.
Right, from Queens, and in all of these years, she has not lost her Queens accent.
So all right already.
And she's been out in California since 1938, so it's been a long time, but she sounds very much as if she was on the streets at Queensboro Plaza.
I have a friend who comes from Queens. It's impossible to talk to her without an argument. I say, "Hi, Hattie, how are you today?" And she says, "Wonderful." Why shouldn't I be?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, now, I'd like to go back. How did you happen to make the contact with the Crosby family?
I made the connection with the Crosby connection, especially with Catherine, when they were doing the Centennial series of programs over at Gonzaga Hall out in California, and also here on the East Coast at Hunter and at Queens College.
They were
During
doing.
that time, Catherine appeared, and the person who was most important with that exhibition on the East Coast was a man by the name of Martin McQuaid. And Martin and I have known each other for years, so we were talking one day, and I said I was about to do a series on Bing Crosby, and he said, "Would you be interested in meeting Catherine?" I said, "Of course."
Oh boy,
Catherine came to the library, and she bookstores around the country doing different programs. That's like a cabaret act, so that you have a little bit of film clip reminiscences as well as songs that were important to her and to me. And she also tells a bit of their life together, especially how they got together and the fact that it almost didn't happen. They were scheduled to be married 4 times, and the first 3 times didn't happen, and she was ready to give up. In fact, she went to Spain to make the Golden Voyage of Sinbad, and to forget about Bing Crosby, because she decided between 1953 and 1957 this was never going to happen.
Oh my goodness, really?
Yes, quite really. And
Yeah.
in fact, it was after she came back from making that picture that he actually slipped a last letter into her mailbox saying, "This is the last letter you'll ever have from me. I'll marry you anytime, any place." And this is the most prominent thing in their study on the 2nd floor of their house. I saw it last September when I was out there.
Oh, you went out there yourself?
Oh yes, so she invited me out for a weekend, so I had a wonderful time with Catherine.
Isn't that wonderful?
Oh, it is.
Yeah, they're so hospitable.
After Catherine was very grateful. We had her. We did 3 months of Bing Crosby over a 2-year period, and each time I had Catherine do one of her shows at the library. We have a 265-seat, fully staged auditorium, and she loved it. She packed it both times. In fact, first time we had her, she so filled it we had to have a second screening 2 weeks later when she could accommodate us, because we were turning away hundreds of people.
Oh.
She's very sweet. She's rather tough. She's a Texan, and she's very proud of the fact that she started out her career as Miss Fat Stock Cattle, and that's what got her to get her first award, which got her someone to get her to look at her and get her over to Paramount. And she met Bing Crosby because she wasn't expecting to stay in Hollywood. She was writing a column for her local Texas paper.
My goodness.
And one of the people that she interviewed on the lot, of course, was Bing Crosby when he was making White Christmas.
Oh my goodness, really?
Really. And in fact, she was supposed to have originally played the role of the general's granddaughter. But she said she was always very happy that she didn't, start out doing that with Bing, because she said nothing else would have ever happened.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, were you pleased with the response to the Bob Hope series?
Very much so. We were, I have to admit, I was very careful in what I selected. If you'll note the titles, we wanted to show sort of the key points in his career. Never Say Die. He had made 2 films before that for Paramount. This was his 3rd film. And the powers that be, including Adolf Zucker, said at the time, up to this point, he was nice. He was a good song and dance man who could do a little bit of comedy, but they really weren't sure if they were going to keep him. It was his appearance in Never Say Die that gave him another chance, and right after that he made the real pivotal film for his career, which was The Cat and the Canary.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That was early on, wasn't it? That's sometime...
1939.
Yes.
And what was interesting was when he first, Linda was telling me this, when he arrived to make the film, and Nugent, the director, saw him with all of his gag writers from radio, and he said, pulled Bob aside, and he said, do you want to be a radio star, or do you want to be a movie star? Bob caught on that he was to tone down his radio personality. You get quite a bit of it in the film. It's probably the closest of all of his features to what he was like on motion pictures and on radio, because he's a real smart aleck who's afraid that he really isn't a brave person. And he really sets up all of the kernels of what the classic Bob Hope characterizations of the late 40s and 50s would be in this one picture. Besides, he works extremely well with Paulette Goddard.
Yeah.
It was the first of 3 films they made together, and each one is a phenomenal success.
Oh, excellent.
And the only reason people don't know Cat and the Canary these days after they remade it, sort of, they sold the rights off to Radley Metzger, who did a wonderful version of the basic story, which had been kicking around since 1922 in the late 70s with Carol Lindley, Honor Blackman, etc. James, one of the two Fox boys, and Alfred Hyde White. Just a wonderful remake, but it's quite different. And Radley Metzger's is set in England in an old house. In fact, it's the same house that was used in the film The Omen, except that he used different rooms. He said you wouldn't know it was the same estate in the English countryside if he hadn't told you that.
And, well, your interest and your knowledge of the whole situation is phenomenal. How did you get interested in this?
How did I get interested? I've been involved with film since I was a small child.
I see. It started as a youngster.
1950s.
Yeah.
And I had a grandfather who used to offer to take you to movies either at Yale or at the Museum of Modern Art. He wouldn't tell you what you were going to see. It could be a German language talkie with Paula Negri from the 30s. It could be a classic like Mae Murray in On with the Dance. You never knew what you were going to get. And as long as you behaved and didn't complain or squirm, you were invited again.
And
I was very fortunate that also I grew up in southern Connecticut where a lot of the ex-stars tended to live.
whereabouts in southern Connecticut?
Southport, Connecticut.
Where?
Southport, Connecticut.
Now you have to tell me where that is.
And that's about 85 miles north of New York City.
Is it near? Is it in the quiet corner of Connecticut?
Well, it's in the middle of the. It's right on Long Island Sound in the middle of the Gold Coast. And you had people like, well, Rosalind Russell's sister, Mrs. LaRoche, was always there. You could see people like Dorothy Stickney. You could see Rosalind Russell. You could see Mr. Pratt, Boris Karloff, who was a great friend of the family.
Is it near New London?
To me, he was Mr. Pratt. I have to admit that until he died when I was in college, I only saw 3 of his films. I saw him on the stage quite a bit, but I'm not in love with horror films. So I knew his stage work and I knew several of his films, but I still have never seen Frankenstein, nor will I ever see it.
Well, is Southport near New London?
No, actually it's the other end of the state. New London is up near the Rhode Island border, very much closer to the New York area.
Is it near Norwalk?
It's north of Norwalk. It's Norwalk, Westport, Southport, Fairfield, as they say on the New York, New Haven, and Hartford Railroad.
And is it Route 7?
No, Route 7, this is right on the coast.
Yes, but does Route 7 go up from there, up from Norwalk?
Route 7 starts in Norwalk and it goes right to Vermont.
Oh, okay. Are you on the Cablevision? Is it on the Cablevision system that covers Fairfield County up to Bridgeport?
I think no, is it Cablevision or is it Comcast? Oh, God.
I think it is Cablevision.
I think it is Cablevision, but I won't swear to it.
Yeah, I think it is. I know it is, in fact. It's Greenwich, Stanford, Norwalk, and Fairfield and Bridgeport. And if it's on the coast, then it would be Cablevision. That's good. That means your program's going to be on in Southport.
Oh, very good.
Now, did your grandfather have anything to do with your becoming a librarian?
Not really. He was a great bibliophile, but he, like lots of other people, you sort of fall into this. When I was graduating, I had a art history background, and I was planning on going to do a PhD in art history. Unfortunately, it was during the last big crisis during the oil embargo of the 70s, and I was working in the library, and I offered a position upon graduation, and it seemed better to take a bird in the hand rather than to get a PhD and be a fry cook for 5 years.
Oh.
So in my case, that started that off. But also, I was very, very fortunate that I got to meet a lot of people like Lillian Gish. Colleen Moore was a great friend for over 25 years with me. And these people would introduce you to lots of other people like King Vidor and Eleanor Boardman. Blanche Sweet was a really good friend in the city, and she was also, once you showed that you had knowledge and you were very young and knew who they were, meeting early on in the late 60s and the early 70s, I didn't know, especially a number of the technical people. I knew, you knew the stars, you knew the directors, but you didn't know some of the production people, and that was rather interesting.
And how did you start out at the library?
When did I start in the library?
Yeah, did you start with the New York City Public Library?
No, I started out with the Bank Street College of Education Library. I worked there for about 6 years before I graduated. Well, actually, I decided that I wanted a pension. For a pension in libraries at the time at Bank Street, they only did it for the professors, not for administration, and not for the library. So I decided that, when I would be getting old and gray, I would need an income. So I had two main offers. One was the New York Public Library, the other was the Rockefeller Foundation, and I chose the New York Public.
Yeah, good. Well, it was good for them. And did you receive a lot of press on this?
Actually, we did. We got we were picked up a lot. I think partially because the Library for the Performing Arts in New York really got behind us on this project. The fact that it had certain star quality also helped. I mean, people like Elliot Stein on The Voice have been very supportive over the years. And the biggest thing for us was word of mouth. People who came to the first program were so taken aback that they actually got to see a television show with the commercials intact from the period as well as a feature film. That, I think, was one of our biggest drawing cards.
Really?
I watched people, after they saw Never Say Die, get ready to leave and not stay for the second part of the program, which was the 1955 Chevy show that included all of the I Love Lucy cast and Don Larson, who I believe pitched a no-hitter at some kind of baseball game. I'm not a baseball fan, so I really don't know. But when they had the opening commercial, and it's a rather feeble commercial for Chevrolet, people who were leaving went back into the aisles, sat down, and really enjoyed it.
Based on St. Francis of Assisi.